ECCB Governor touts Grenada's move towards fiscal responsibility as an example for the rest of the ECCU.
I'm encouraged by what I've seen in Grenada recently, for example, not just with the passage of fiscal responsibility legislation, but the establishment of a fiscal responsibility and oversight committee.
Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the National Report, I am Rikisha St. Louis. Grenada's decision to establish a Fiscal Responsibility Oversight Committee is an important development for the rest of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. So says Mr. Timothy Antwine, Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. His comment came in response to a query from a caller via video conferencing about the benefits of fiscal responsibility legislation at the regional level, as opposed to being enacted by individual member countries. Mr. Antwine says every country has to realize that fiscal responsibility is important not for the IMF, but for their own growth and sustainable development.
I'm encouraged by what I've seen in Grenada recently, for example, not just with the passage of fiscal responsibility legislation, but the establishment of a fiscal responsibility and oversight committee, independent of politicians, to give an account to the Parliament on an annual basis on the fiscal performance of the government of Grenada.
While Jamaica has fiscal responsibility legislation in place, Grenada is the first place where a committee has been launched. Regional countries are seeking to build resilience to climate change at a two-day meeting which began in St. George's on Wednesday. Close to 40 environmentalists from across the region are attempting to draw up a proposal that will outline the direction to be taken to adapt to climate change at the Radisson Grenada Grand Beach Resort in Grand Anse. Agriculture Minister, the Honourable Yolan Bain Hosford, who spoke at the opening ceremony, said that Grenada is poised to host the workshop, having declared its intentions for mitigation actions in sectors like energy, transportation and water. She said that the country's mitigation targets are 30% by 2030.
Grenada has implemented many climate change adaptation actions in order to build resilience in key sectors like water, coastal zone, agriculture, fisheries, human health, and tourism, as well as our efforts in emerging new areas such as the blue economy, ecosystems-based adaptation, and areas beyond national jurisdiction. Because of all these initiatives, Grenada is recognized as a leader in climate resilience actions.
The Agriculture Minister said the region must accelerate its efforts at securing reliable and predictable financing to deal with a serious problem.
We must remain consistent with our clarion call for the temperature goal of 1.5 to stay alive. I challenge us all to keep in mind the bigger picture. And even as we plan and discuss implementation, we must plan to amplify our efforts and in turn call upon other parties to increase their ambition, as agreed in Paris. Grenada is ready, and I can see in your presence here today that you are already excited and as ready as well.
Assistant Executive of the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, Dr. Mark Baino, says that focus has been placed on the energy and transportation sectors.
Most of our countries have identified these two sectors as the main sectors which we should be focusing attention on. So we are hoping that the proposal we are putting up to the German International Climate Institute would be favorably accepted. And if it is accepted, we're looking at about between $15 to $20 million for the region to help with our national determined contribution implementation plans.
A minute of silence was observed during the opening ceremony for the countries that were ravaged by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique will host the Caribbean's biggest tourism gathering, the State of the Tourism Industry Conference, from 10th to the 13th of October at the Radisson Grenada Beach Resort. It's your opportunity to get premium access to tourism industry leaders, network, and gain ideas to improve your business or knowledge. To register online, visit SOTIC. That's SOTIC at sotic.onecaribbean.org. Register locally locally by visiting the GTA headquarters at Burns Point, St. George's, or the GTA office in Carriacou, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Register for 1 day for just $160, or register for 3 days for just $400. There's something for everyone at SOTIC 2017. See you there.
Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Mr. Timothy Antwine, says classifying poor and vulnerable small economies as rich is nothing short of heartless. He was speaking Tuesday at the regional video conference launch of the ECCB's Strategic Plan 2017 to 2021. During a recent address to the nation, Finance Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell said, "For years, CARICOM leaders have been imploring the international community to revise the criteria for concessionary financing to include a country's vulnerability level." Mr. Antwine says we need to get the international community to accept that climate change is real and requires swift action.
In taking action, we must confront the analytical absurdity and callous classification which puts our poor, vulnerable, small countries in a category described as rich, such that we cannot access concessionary financing and grants for reconstruction. That's an absurdity. And if we didn't know it before, after Hurricanes Irma and Maria, we ought to know that now. So that next week and the week after, those of us who are in Washington will be making this point just as it was made in the United Nations at the General Assembly a week and a half ago. But we have to make this point going forward because it is very important for our reconstruction effort.
The ECCB governor says the EC dollar remains strong despite the devastation caused to some member territories. As recent as last Friday, September 29th, the backing of the dollar was 98.3%, which means for every one EC dollar in circulation, there are 98.3 cents in foreign reserves backing the dollar. The law requires at least 60%. And finally, climate change continues to be a topical issue, especially in recent days as the Caribbean still grapple with the effects of storms and hurricanes. Regional stakeholders and experts converge in Grenada this week to collectively agree on rationales for putting a price on carbon and continue dialogue which started in 2016 on pricing instruments for carbon. The carbon tax, or the carbon price, is the amount that must be paid for the right to emit 1 ton of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Over time, the limits become stricter, allowing less and less pollution until the ultimate reduction goal is met.
We believe the private sector has a key role to play, both in terms of the skill sets, the implementation of programs, and in terms of the scale of finance and action that's required. And so we see our role as really convening the various different parts of the private sector, the advisory businesses, the banks, the insurance companies, the legal sector, to come together and build best practice and ensure that the policies that policymakers such as yourselves come up with can be implemented effectively. And so I'm really looking forward today and tomorrow to engaging in an active dialogue that will see us look at what the right solutions are, how we can bring to bear the experience of the private sector as well as government to make the solutions that you need work effectively.
Adrian Rimmer from Climate Markets and Investment Association. Permanent Secretary within the Ministry of Agriculture and the Environment, Mrs. Marina Jessamy, stressed the need for policies to be turned into actions. She highlighted Grenada's adaptation to climate change through the implementation of 27 community projects.
I believe that the discussion on climate change is calling all of us to really become CARICOM citizens, to think regional, because the solutions that we will develop here, when I get calls from my counterparts from across the region, is why is Grenada leading in this? What was the process? What did you do so far? Can we copy that? Because then they do not have to waste time to find out what they should or should not do. And I believe that when we do well and we help the other countries to do well, our region as a whole will benefit. This is a very important meeting.
And that's the National Report. I am Rikisha St. Louis.